Welcome back to the channel. My name is Steven. I'm a pharmacist and I own 54 units of real estate. So today I want to talk about ADUs and junior ADUs. So on a single family home lot, you could basically build a detached ADU. In California, I believe the max is, I think, $1,200 for a detached ADU. And for a junior ADU, so this is something that's attached, so typically it's going to be converting your garage, I think the max is around $500. So the federal, they have their limitations, but the city might be stricter. So for example, if the city, or if the federal allows a 1,500 square foot ADU, but California only allows a 1,200 foot ADU, or the city, then you're limited to 1,200. So what's kind of crazy is basically on one single family home lot, you can basically make it into a triplex. And that's what I was kind of targeting when I was buying in 2020, is I wanted something with a big lot. I wanted something with a detached garage that I could convert into an ADU. And I wanted something that had a lot of land. So I actually set my filters on Zillow as to, I think I wanted a 4-bedroom main house, and the lot had to be 500 square foot or bigger. I think ideally you want to be 7,000 plus, but my filter was 7,000 or 5,000 plus square foot lot. And then once I found the address, I would just look for photos of the backyard. And you can do kind of a Google Earth aerial view to see how it looks and how much space you have. Like maybe you have a swimming pool, maybe you can fill up that swimming pool and convert it into an ADU. But it's kind of crazy. So instead of like buying a triplex, you could basically convert a single family home into like a triplex, where you have a garage that's converted into a 500 square foot studio or a 1-bedroom, and the backyard house, if you can get like at least 1,000 square feet, that's a smaller 3-bedroom 2-bath. So basically what I can do with my property is the main house is a 4-bedroom 2-bath. I think it's like 1,500 square foot, something like that. And the garage, I think it's roughly around 300 square foot. So if I were to convert that into a junior ADU, I can extend the garage another 200 square feet to make it into a nice 1-bedroom, 1-bath. That's 500 square foot. And there's a lot of space in the front yard to extend out. So what's nice about this house is it's a huge driveway. Like I think you can probably fit 5 cars comfortably on the driveway. And the garage, the tenants actually, I think they have like a gym in there, or they use it for something, right? But they have 5 cars plus like, a garage that's not really used for parking their cars. It's probably just used for additional living space. So basically I can get a 1-bedroom in there. And he said that converting a garage versus, so converting a 300 square foot garage versus extending it another 200 square foot doesn't add that much cost to it, but you get better bang for your buck because you can do a 1-bedroom versus a studio. And in the backyard, the lot's nice. So the main house still has kind of a side patio to like barbecue, but then most of the backyard, if I'm doing between 1,000 to 1,100 square foot, I'm leaning towards 1,000, because 1,000's the minimum that you need in order to get 3-bedroom 2-bath, and that can justify $3,700 a month in rent. And basically that's how you have a triplex. So the main house will be a 4-bedroom, rents out for $4,300. The backyard house rents out for $3,700, 3-bedroom 2-bath with solar panels, separate electric meter. And I'm debating if I want a separate water meter or not, because basically I have to pay for separate water utilities, and it's going to cost me $10,000 versus like your average water bill is going to be like, maybe for a family of 3, let's just call it $200. So it might be worth it. I mean, it's nice to have it separate, to make it easy, to make it clean. So ideally you want separate water meters, or you can like pay for like a sub-metering where they just measure it manually and you manually bill the person. But if you want to hold this long term, which I'm thinking about, separate water meters is probably better. And then the 1-bedroom in the main house, they will share. So in that case, I'm not sure if the junior ADU can have its own separate water meter as well, but if it can, nice. If not, like I said, I just can have a separate like measuring device, so it can measure how much water you're using. That you can bill to that 1-bedroom tenant. And then obviously for the detached ADU, separate laundry. For the 4-bedroom, you're gonna have to add laundry there as well. So you might lose some closet space. And then for the little 1-bedroom, it has its own laundry as well. So basically, you now have like 3 units, right? And sorry, the rents were $2,500 for a 1-bedroom, $3,700 for the detached 3-bedroom, and then the main house is $4,300. But so that's almost $10,000 a month. And what's nice about ADUs is that you can finance them through a line of credit. Like you can get a HELOC and pay like, off another property or off the main house. And you're going to pay probably like closer to like a 10% interest rate. But if you finance the whole thing using a HELOC, I mean, it's not bad, right? Like I think I calculate out a $250K HELOC at like 9%. I think your all-in cost is roughly around $1,800 to $2,000. And you can rent it out, assuming you're building a 2-bedroom, for $3,000. So you're cash flowing $1,000 a month, like where you can get that cash flow despite terrible interest rates in a HELOC. But HELOCs are variable interest rates. So if rates go down, it goes down too. But if it goes up, it goes up. But in this environment, I think they're trending downwards. So what I would do is I would take that excess $1,000 cash flow and then use that to pay down that HELOC. And once you own the HELOC, it's paid off, it's owned free and clear. The ADU is pumping $3,000 a month, assuming it's a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom. So what I would do is I'd probably pay for the 3-bedroom, 2-bath ADU, mostly cash. So I think it's going to cost me about $325 all in for everything, permits, construction, solar, appliances. I think it's about $325. And I could probably finance $225 cash myself, and then $100,000 would be my line of credit at let's just call it 8% interest rate. So I can rent this thing out for $3,700 a month, and I can't imagine my loan payment to be more than $1,000 a month. So I could take $3,700 and then basically take that $2,700 in positive cash flow and pay down that line of credit, and then basically pay off that line of credit in probably like 3 years if I'm making extra payments. So that's how it gets like very lucrative and very powerful, right? And so now once your line of credit's paid off, you own an ADU free and clear that's pumping out $3,700 a month in cash flow. Like where can you get a deal like that, right? It's hard to get a deal like that. It's better than my Alabama deal, because my Alabama deal cost around $300,000, rent's only $2,100. This one cost me $325, and I can get $3,700 in rent. So it's way powerful. And then same with so once you have that cash flow, you can save up money, and I can finance the next 1-bedroom, 1-bath. I can finance the next 1-bedroom, 1-bath with a my line of credit, or I can just save up cash to buy that one. Let's say it cost me $150,000 to make a 500 square foot 1-bedroom, 1-bath garage conversion, and that thing can rent for $2,500. So once again, if I can afford that cash, then now you're making $2,500 a month from this 1-bedroom, $3,700 a month from the backyard house. So what is that? That's like almost like $6,000 a month in net positive cash flow. And the main house is getting $4,000, but you still have a loan on that main house. But that house has a very low interest rate of like 2.6%, so no rush to pay that off. So I can use that $6,000 a month of cash flow to pay down my primary residence, or that actually covers my mortgage payment on my house. So that's how you get a free house, right? So you buy these ADUs cash and do triplex. And I would love to rinse and repeat this process where I buy the house, once again, and you can actually, it's more risky, wouldn't necessarily advise it, but like you could like basically get a hard money loan. This is what one ADU builder was saying he was doing. He got a hard money loan to finance the main house as well as the ADU in the backyard, and then you basically fix it up and you refinance into long-term debt. But it becomes more powerful if you can like just use the line of credit, or if you have cash, or ideally if you have cash, then you basically just buy the house with like, let's say 20-25% down, and then hopefully that property breaks even, But what you do is you pay cash for the ADU in the backyard, and that is where you get your cash flow, right? So like my main house doesn't really cash flow. Like I think the main house breaks even, if I'm being honest. I only put 10% down, but my interest rate is 2.6%. But I think that house just breaks even, or I might make a little bit, but it took me a while to get there to break even. And then the backyard house, I can pay it mostly cash, a little bit line of credit, but that one's going to cash flow significantly for the rest of it. So collectively, if I paid cash the ADU for the one bedroom and the detached, that's going to cash flow $6,000 a month. I'm going to gross $10,000, but my net cash flow is $6,000, which is coming from the ADU because the main house breaks even. So that's where the real estate becomes powerful. And if you can save up that cash, though, it's hard to scale. But if you can get a line of credit, a HELOC on it, still works too. So what some people do is you can finance like the main house. Let's say the main house is $1 million, and it's going to cost me $30,000 to build the ADU, and then another, let's just call it for $200,000 to make a one bedroom. So now I'm all in for $1.5 million. And how you finance it with a hard money loan is that you might put 25% of $1.5 million, right? So that's roughly going to be 1.5 divided by 4, call it $350,000 to $400,000 that you're putting down. And then what you're hoping is that you're going to then refinance it, at the same amount, right? So whatever your loan is, so you're gonna do a rate and term refinance essentially out of the hard money loan, get traditional debt in there, but you're gonna have an ADU. You're gonna have 3 properties paying you, right? So you're gonna have your main house getting income, and the 2 little ADUs generate income as well. But it's leveraged, right? So like, you're not gonna be as strong of a cash flow. But I can only imagine if you're all in for $1.5 million purchase price, you put 25% down. You put $400,000 down, your new loan's $1.1 million, and now you have a triplex on a loan of $1.1 million, and you're generating $10,000 a month in gross revenue. You're probably going to be cash flow positive. I cannot imagine that situation, you being cash flow negative. Well, unless I need to do the math, but that's where it becomes very lucrative. So that's why it's kind of crazy to think that this one house that I bought for $800,000, that's worth $1.2 million today, would end up being a surefire way for me to retire by building 2 ADUs using cash, mostly cash, a little bit of line of credit, but using the cash flow to pay off that line of credit. And that's how it gets powerful, right? So that's why I said real estate is a long-term game. I've owned this deal for 5 years, and I thought about the strategy, I wrote it off, but now I'm like, this is my retirement. Because if I built that 3-bedroom, and I rent it out and I convert the garage, and that's all cash, that's $6,000 a month in cash flow. That's doing as well as my 26 unit apartment complex. So if you add them together, that's $12,000 a month in positive cash flow, and the ADUs are owned free and clear, so that there's no debt on those ADUs because I bought them cash. So that's where it becomes lucrative. So anyways, just want to share my thoughts, and I'll keep you guys posted on the process. For sure, I'm going to build a detached ADU. I'm still 50-50 if I want to do the junior ADU, because, it's not going to be as attractive to the main house, obviously. So maybe my rents might drop a little bit in the main house, but that's okay. It's the cost of doing business. And I'll tell the current tenants, hey, if you are okay with a detached ADU and an attached ADU, I'm probably not going to raise your rents because it's very affordable for me now because I'm getting additional income. So it helps lower your costs as well. So I can keep them, significantly below market rents, because, obviously, they're sharing walls. So anyways, hopefully you found value from the video. Please like, comment, subscribe. Hope to see you in the next one. If you want to join my mentorship, you want coaching, you want to join my school community, you want a steadily landlord insurance quote, please click my link tree. Otherwise, hope to see you next one. Thank you.